Wow, Jacob, you grow carrots better than mommy. I don't know why everybody's sunflowers look so nice and ours looks like Beetlejuice. So, here, you're in the way. You're blocking it. Well, hello and welcome to our homestead.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Crystal. And we're doing a garden walk. This is episode number 5 of Steve and Crystal walk through the garden at nighttime.
After dinner.
Which is risky because I might have stuff in my teeth.
I'm pretty sure I do. Saving the flavor.
You're in for a great one today. Let's do it. Let's go. We're going to start over here by the new things. Ta-da! So, here, you're in the way. You're blocking it. That right there is a new pear tree we planted. And then
it's kind of an old new.
One over here, that's also new in the ground. We have a moon glow and a Bartlett pear. We bought those trees, I don't know, back in the springtime. And they've just been sitting in the pots. They really needed to get in the ground, and it's still warm enough that they should be able to establish some roots before it gets really cold out. But Steve made a discovery.
This is a spot where I believe 2 bosk pear trees were before they were taken out by our tree guy. Didn't know there was pear trees here and dropped trees on them. But now we have new saplings that I marked just so I don't cut them down by accident. And when I'm moving wood around, I know to be more careful around them. So hopefully we get some volunteer bosk pears back up and they'll cross-pollinate with our 2 other trees.
Yeah, bosk pears are our favorite pears.
Yes.
So it would be nice to have those back again. We didn't order any of those trees this year because we couldn't find any. I have another Lady Godiva pumpkin. I've already harvested a bunch of pumpkins. And that'll be in another video. I believe that's a Connecticut field pumpkin.
Hopefully it gets big quick.
Yeah, and then there's a couple I've seen that might hopefully grow a little bit. And we're still getting about a handful of strawberries a day. I almost have an entire gallon-sized freezer bag of strawberries. And then our sunflowers are looking, they're looking down. They're not.
Literally,
they are looking down. I don't know why everybody's sunflowers look so nice and ours looks like Beetlejuice. I don't know if it was the wind and
I think it has to do with all the rain and all the water went up to the flower.
We should talk about that a little bit. What happened from the hurricane? We'll talk about that at the end really quick. What happened with the hurricane? But yeah, this is these are chocolate colored ones here. I don't know, I grew a bunch of different varieties this year. I hope to grow even more next year. They're so cool looking, and we love sunflower seeds, so if I can get some of those roasted, and I know that chickens will really enjoy them. They're really pretty. Not those ones. Not anymore.
That one's pretty.
Oh yeah, there's this little teddy bear sunflower. I had planted a whole bunch of these, and none of them, except for Jacob's, and this one over here didn't come up. I thought these were all teddy bear sunflowers in the front, and they weren't. I don't know, there's so many different ones. I don't even remember the names. When I was thinning out winter squash, I ended up saving some of the small seedlings in containers, and they got too big for the containers, and I didn't know where to put them. So I put them over here by the compost bin. I'm starting to get some squash. I've never let spaghetti squash and butternut squash grow on the ground like this before. So we'll see if they turn out better or not. And then we have this whole thing is tomato plants from our compost bin. Some black cherry tomatoes, and then these are all beefsteak tomatoes. I was able to save one of the beefsteak tomatoes because those were the only slicer tomatoes I grew last year, because those were the only seeds I had left in my basement from the year prior. And so I saved some of the seeds this year from this beefsteak tomato plant. Wow, look at that. Woo-wee. It's an Abe Lincoln tomato. And then this is a State Fair winter pumpkin plant. We have one that's been pollinated, one that was not pollinated, and another one that's been pollinated over here. So we will see if we are able to get another decent sized pumpkin. Here's the State Fair winter pumpkin so far. This thing is a mammoth. It is huge. It's crazy. Look at that.
Yeah.
So cool. I will always grow this variety because that is just, it's just so cool to see.
Because we can roast the seeds and also save the biggest ones and grow more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those seeds came from my gardener. It was the State Fair winter pumpkin, and you only get 3 seeds in the packet, but they're huge seeds. This is a Luffa plant that's super late, and it's only because it kept dying. Things kept eating them, and I just kept sowing the seeds, hoping eventually one would take off, and this one did. It's just, we're in the beginning of September. It's just now starting to vine up, but we got some purple potted pole beans growing on the other side. They really like this cattle panel trellis along with these green beans. But the reason why this trellis is here is for our kiwi vines, and they are looking fantastic. So good. It's a hardy kiwi, and they're just kind of trellising over, but they look so good. The vines themselves get kind of woody. We're gonna have to prune that back pretty good this winter. So that is that. I have some tomato plants on the outside doing pretty good. The kids' gardens are doing well. I'm pretty much done. Jacob did a better job growing carrots than I did. All right, J-Bear, come over. Let's see.
Go ahead and grab it and pull it up.
Whoa!
Look at that.
That is enormous.
Thank you. Do the next one.
Oh, that one's gonna be big. Whoa, that
Wow,
is big.
Look at that.
You grow carrots better than Mommy.
Yep.
Right down here.
Oh,
Wow.
Jacobs are really good.
Good. We've started some more bushing snap green beans, and they've also started some more carrots in their gardens. This is our sweet potato bed. So we have sage and garlic chives. No, I think they're just chives. They're not garlic chives. I just made that up.
You planted garlic chives.
That's right. I planted garlic chives and they didn't grow. These are our blueberry plants. They're pretty much done for the year. We have 4 other blueberry plants near the front part of our property. All right, so these are some Roma tomatoes that are still producing and growing and doing good. The leaves are still pretty good. Some of them not so much. We've had to prune pretty heavily the leaves, but by doing that, you know, it seemed to help the plants quite a bit.
This jalapeno plant took off, huh?
Yeah, I really like that. It was so tiny when I put it in there too. And now it's just like a Christmas tree of jalapenos. Yeah, I'm gonna try and save it and keep it in that pot and move it inside that greenhouse we're gonna build. Yeah, there's some honey nut squash on here.
What are these?
Radishes. I have another summer squash that I started probably at the beginning of August. I stuck a seed in the ground just because I was depressed that I didn't get barely any squash this year.
You
But
think you'll get one?
I don't know, we'll see. The plant looks really healthy, so hopefully it will produce something. Some peas that I sowed already, beets, bushing green beans. These are tomato plants. This is my tomato sucker plant from a sucker that grew on an Abe Lincoln tomato plant, and it's doing really good. I really like that method of being able to get a later harvest of tomatoes and well into the fall time of just saving the sucker plants and sticking them to the ground. I have a volunteer garlic.
A couple of them.
It's really not volunteer. That just means that when I was harvesting the garlic, I don't know what happened. I missed some or something. I don't know. But this is like an entire head of garlic is underneath the ground here. I'm just gonna kind of let them do their thing, and maybe I'll separate these out at some point. This is a lonely pinto bean plant. Oh, bushing green beans. It's not volunteer. It's really not. It's Crystal missed some garlic or something. I don't know. And
Is
then
that dill?
Yes, I started dill in here a while ago. It finally started growing. And then this is a sunflower. I have no idea the variety. I just know that over there by the watermelons, I saw a bunch of seedlings. And when I looked at the seeds underneath, they were sunflower seeds. So I saved them and I split them up and I planted them around. But this was the only one that actually took. so we'll see. Previously, the onion bed, I have radishes and rutabagas and some cabbage on the outside here. And we've harvested some of the corn. We did better than we did last year, so
Yes.
in that sense, it was totally a success. And this is our carrots. I started these a little bit ago. I might need to thin them out a little bit more. I'll have to check. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow, but we're trying again for some carrots here. Gonna keep trying until we get it right. And then this is a bunch of pole green beans, and cucumber plant is going in here. I just harvested about 3 or 4 cucumber from this plant the other day, and that may be the last time I get cucumbers from it. But I have another one in here starting to grow. Probably won't get anything from that, but you never know. And I have some green beans that hopefully I'll be able to save my own seeds. The hot pepper bed.
You got a lot of them. Is that going to be the rest going to be cowboy candy?
The rest is going to be cowboy candy. Look at this beast. This is an August Ambrosia watermelon from Fruition Seeds. It's doing really well. I have to say this plant has produced a couple different fruits. 2 of them did not do well. One was my error. There's a sugar baby watermelon in there too. And then there's this one. It's a crimson sweet that should not be on a trellis.
But it went on the trellis.
It went on the trellis. I never caught it. And then this thing was happening and I didn't know what to do, so it's on here like crazy. I have to put a board in between. This is all the, yeah, that's a Kajari melon that's not meloning at all. I did better last year, and not that we were able to get anything really, but the plant just straight up died. Both of the cantaloupe and Kajari melon didn't do good. Well, all of the honey nut squash, we have a ton of those. I can't wait to harvest and try that this year.
Our massive ground cherry plants.
Yeah, the kids love coming out here and picking those. And then I've harvested some of the butternut squash, and when I was doing that, I realized I had more butternut squash going. I've tied those up. I got acorn squash, but the rest of that plant didn't do good, so I took it out. And then I have another cherry tomato plant. That was a volunteer plant that I had to put somewhere. Oh, I have this spider web on my face. And then we have some more eggplants starting to come in. And then this was our summer squash bed, and popcorn. And the popcorn, some of it I've already harvested, and I have it hanging to dry in our basement right now. The ears aren't full of kernels, but there are some like that are on there, so I'm just hanging them upside down and drying them to see if I can get some popcorn out of it. Taking out the majority of the plants because they were just completely done after that. But then we had a post-tropical depression, Ida. I just ended up taking everything out, and I have in here now some golden acre cabbage I'm trying, and what's this one? A Savoy cabbage in there. So I had planted a lot more, but they were just eaten by some sort of worm. This is our sweet pepper bed. It's a Leisure pepper. And we're getting a lot of bell peppers in here, and I don't think I'm gonna pack the sweet peppers as tightly as I pack the hot peppers next year. I think they need a little bit more room. The hot peppers seem to really enjoy being packed in together, but the sweet peppers, the ones in the middle, aren't doing as well as the ones on the outside. And then here's our Greenstalk. It is a 5-tier regular standard Greenstalk that Steve had gotten us as kind of like an anniversary present to ourselves this year. And I originally, when I first did it, I started a bunch of lettuce and herb seeds, and some of them did really good. I had dill up here, I had a bunch of different things. Oregano that's back here is the oregano that was from when I first sowed the seeds. The only thing I wish I had did differently was I wish that we had bought the wheels that come with the bottom so that we can turn the Greenstalk so that it evenly gets light. The other thing I wish I did differently was, you know, I was kind of on a really tight budget at the time when I put soil in here, and so I kind of made my own potting mix, and I didn't have enough to fill. You're supposed to fill it all the way to the top, and I did not do that with these. So those are 2 things I'm gonna do different for next year. I really like it. It's great for my propagated basil because I'm able to get my basil cuttings from some of my other bigger plants, and then I'm able to stick them in right in here, and they do perfectly in the Greenstalk. I've grown Tiny Tim tomatoes in here. They do pretty good. I had to use some sticks and like the clothesline clips just to keep the tomato plants up from hitting the ground. I did grow a summer squash plant in the bottom, and that did pretty good. I think I got 1 or 2 squash from that, and then it died just like all my other squash plants did. It was not a good year for squash plants for me, but it did pretty good in here. But I would suggest if you are going to do something like that, just make sure you do it on the bottom so that the plant doesn't cascade or block out anything else on the Greenstalk. But I have arugula back here doing good. I had spinach in here, but it bolted. I kind of took a little risk when I started those seeds, but I have cilantro growing, and I can a lot of the stuff that we harvest from our garden, and I use herbs when I do that. So having dill and oregano and basil and things that are easy to get to and that are growing really well, it's really nice to have this. And we plan on getting another one in the near future, ordering a couple sets of wheels so that we can turn around, because if there's a certain side of it that doesn't get sun, it's not, the side's not going to do as well. But I have radishes in here too. We've gotten a lot of rain this year. I really haven't had to manually water this at all. I think it's a really great way to have a full garden if you strategically plant things in it without taking up a lot of space.
Our little habaneros.
Oh yeah, we have a habanero plant. I'll be able to move these inside our greenhouse when we build it. So the tomato plants are still producing. I have rutabagas over here that the worms have gotten to, the leaves, but I'm gonna let them grow a little bit more, and then I'm gonna pull these out. And then I have, the peas are doing pretty good. I started these at the beginning of August, and they're starting to climb up the trellis here. I started the peas in between each of the tomato plants. And then over here I have more purple potted pole beans, because I like chaos apparently in the garden, so I didn't know what to do. I just stuck them in, letting them go. And then I have some more Savoy cabbage in here, dinosaur kale I started, and then these are some more bushing green beans, and more tomato plants. The other thing I like is, and I did it last year, but I was better with my planning of where to put them, is planting the marigolds with the tomatoes. I think it helps with the pests quite a bit. Our apple tree.
Doing amazing.
Yeah, we're gonna have to put that in the ground soon. Next year.
Yeah.
These are more Roma tomatoes. I really took a risk packing them in tightly. I have not really had an issue with blight. I did have one that totally died in the corner, and I hung it upside down until all the tomatoes ripened. I don't know what happened to it. It wasn't cut or anything. It just died. So I hung it upside down out here and waited for all the Roma tomatoes to mostly ripen, and then I picked them and, composted the rest of it. They're doing really good in here. This vintage wine has become a new favorite of mine. It's really pretty, and it's got a really fall color, dark orange red color, but the flavor is so good. I really enjoy it. We're still getting silver slicer cucumbers growing, even though the plants themselves don't look that great.
Oh, iceberg?
Oh yeah, I have some iceberg lettuce growing in here too.
Looks like one got eaten.
Lettuce and cabbage and broccoli and cauliflower and carrots. Oh man, do I have a list of things that Crystal can't grow. Alrighty, so we just went for our garden walk. We got our pumpkins. I can't wait to do a fall harvest video. But we just want to talk about what happened with the hurricane, since we had a couple preparing for the hurricane videos. We know that everybody's experience with the storms were different. We're just going to tell what happened here where we live. We live in Connecticut. We were forecasted to get Category 1 hurricane. We were set to be directly impacted by the Category 1 hurricane. And so we were a little nervous about that, only because we have lots of trees full of foliage, huge trees around us that with a lot of wind and rain could possibly do a lot of damage, and it can get kind of scary here when it's really windy like that. And we tried to be ready for it. We had dealt with tropical depression, Isaias, last year, and it had wiped out a bunch of the stuff in the garden, and so we wanted to be sure that we were ready. The other thing is that we have dealt with an obscene amount of rain this year, more rain than we've ever dealt with in the past, and because of that, being forecasted to be getting even more rain was a little concerning as far as flooding goes, how wet our basement can get, and it was just a couple different variables going on of worry of what could possibly happen. So the day that the storm hit was
Sunday,
and it was during the day, which was good because at night it can be even scarier. We could see everything that was happening. We got a significant amount of rain. The wind wasn't that bad. We didn't lose power, which was... We lose power now, like we could lose power right now. And then all of the sudden in the afternoon, as the storm was letting up, we saw a power truck go by, and the next thing we know, within probably about 20 minutes or so, our power was cut. And I know that it was a controlled outage, and it went off, and I was like, oh gosh, I hope this isn't like the end. And it was on within 10 minutes. So we were super grateful. And the next day we were just like on cloud 9 because we came out of that storm completely unscathed after all of the preparing that we did and mental preparing. And the power company had predicted that we would be out of power for like 21 days, we were told. We were fortunate enough that we didn't have to. And then Hurricane Ida was forecasted to hit Louisiana. That storm, you know, it stayed at Cat 4, but then as it makes landfall and stuff, it weekends. And then you just kind of have to deal with this rain system that is coming up towards us. So now we're forecasted to be in the path of this post-tropical depression. So Ida happened when it got up here. It was in the middle of the night.
Yep.
Our phones were blaring, like alerts and everything else, and there was tornado watches, and it was intense. And the storm came, it was the middle of the night, and it was so loud. The winds were howling so loud. The rain was crazy. We ended up, when I checked the gauges out here the next day, they had flooded over our rain gauges. The gauge goes up to 5 inches or so on one, and it was just completely over the top of that one. And then the other one leaks, but it was at 5.5 inches, so I'm assuming it was a little over that.
Normally once a week I'll go out and check the trail cams, get the SD cards, and I'll bring the SD cards back up, put them into the computer and look at them. And the water pretty much took all the stuff that was on the ground in the woods and ran it off to the low points. And now most of the area down in our lower section of the back woods is now just dirt because of all the runoff.
We're forecasted to get more rain this week.
Yeah.
It was a weird summer for weather. I'm glad we were able to share with you what happened, and I hope you enjoyed our garden walk. And if you have any questions or you're looking for specific updates on anything that we do here, please let us know in the comments. We appreciate the ideas and the feedback and the support that we get.
Thumbs up it.
And give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and we will see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.